Hey everyone, this is gonna be an honest review of the update we just had a couple of weeks ago. It's been, I think, enough time to kind of have a good feeling on how the new Dr. T affected us and having Rocket Chopper's Rudy on the main island. And we can start with Dr. T because it was a pretty big change going from just 7 stages that everyone has the same to now scaling Dr. T, so if you're a different level, you have either more difficult stages or not. But I think a lot of people don't like the rewards part about it. One thing that we didn't know is we no longer get crystals guaranteed at stage 6 and 7, which really changes the economy, especially for the dark power stones. Because normally there's ways to get the red, blue, and green stones just based on the type of base you clear, but the only way to get the dark ones is doing Dr. T. But now that we don't get those guaranteed crystals, it's a lot more difficult to get that loot. And not only that, even the normal rewards aren't too high. Maybe for max levels it's okay, but for a lot of medium players and maybe for like HQ 10 to 20, even a bit higher than that, you don't really get too many rewards. Like they even had a maintenance not too long ago where, well, it changed kind of the scaling, so at least now it's not too terrible, but still you have some bases with like 300 building health. Right now clearing Dr. T, I think our first stage was like 300, and then the ones after for whatever reason like 150. So not really sure how the scaling's working now, but at least reward wise, it doesn't really seem like too much of a buff. It might have felt like something that is more geared to higher levels. Like they added the leaderboard too, and for a few days the leaderboard was cool. We tried to speedrun Dr. T just force closing accounts, but doing that 4 times a week, it really gets draining when the fastest people are just force closing in like a minute. It'll still take a while to ramp up, but at least for lower levels, it makes sense not to care too much about the leaderboard. It's really just getting some rewards so you can do some upgrades, and especially those dark power stones. But if they want to fix it now, I guess if you have any ideas, you can leave it in the comments below, can kind of share any thoughts you guys have. But I think finding some way to balance out the rewards that, at least for lower levels, it makes sense to do Dr. T, especially now that it's more difficult. Because I think right now Dr. T, it still has a lot of potential, as long as it maybe change the rewards a bit and even the difficulty for those lower levels, it might still be able to work out. And then aside from Dr. T, of course the other big part about the update was having Rocket Choppas and Rudy on the main island. And for Rocket Choppas, I mean, it's really cool to have a new proto troop, one that, well, we've had for so many years, but now it's permanent on the main island. The thing that kind of sucked is it has 27 levels to go from nothing to maxed out. Might have been annoying to a lot of people, because the only other troop that goes to 27 is a Rifleman, and you can get that at HQ 1. So with Rocket Choppas getting at HQ 23, having 27 levels, it's a lot, especially to max it out in just a few days. Now of course that's kind of different because we didn't have a new troop in so many months, and even the last update with new levels for things was already like 6 months ago. And it kind of makes sense why it happened. Like before when we had proto troops, I think it's like Armory level 14, and if you get a proto troop like Rocket Choppas 1 random week of 1 month, then whatever level your Armory is, that's the level of your Rocket Choppas. So just by that kind of system, there's 27 levels. But maybe because of that system, it was just too difficult to change the values to somehow make it less levels. Because not only are you changing up a bunch of numbers, but it affects warships too. Like I guess it could have been more time put into balancing those numbers, but maybe if they only had the choice between giving us 27 levels or not having rocket choppers at all, I'd still take the RCs. So if that was the only option, I guess 27 is okay. Because again, we are mostly maxed out. At least when you're HQ 23, there's a lot of upgrades still, but if you're maxed out, 27 levels doesn't seem like too much. It's more of like, if you're high level, suffering from success kind of problem. And aside from levels, it's really talking about the usefulness of rocket choppers. And even map clearing, I guess it's kind of fun just to not having to worry about mines, and like maybe even half the protos, Pop Pod Simos aren't an issue. Even some other buildings like shock launchers, critter launchers. If anything, you're kind of limited on what troop combos you can use, because other than like Well, RCs or maybe like one boat of rifles or Scorchers, they don't really work with other troops. Which I guess is kind of the same, but even bombers and lasers kind of have some synergy. But rocket choppers being a flying troop, not so much. In warships, they work great with heavy choppers, but I'm sure it'll be a long time before we see heavy choppers as a permanent troop. Especially with how strong they are with all that health, a bunch of heavies coming out. But at least clearing map, I think it's a cool new addition. And even on some things like Mega Crab, there's some stages where there's a bunch of like Simmos or Hot Pots, and you can use rocket choppers to get the job done. Main Island, it's kind of restricted because all the bases are kind of just a rectangle. There's no real ways to take advantage of rocket choppers flying across gaps. So it's just, if you want to have a bit different way of map clearing, you can use these guys. And even on operations too, there are a few bases that really benefit from rocket choppers, especially since operations do have some weird gaps on the left side. Things like Boomtown or Deja Vu. Rocket choppers can go straight towards the backside, avoid a bunch of protos. They are still really limited, but it's not like they're absolutely useless. The one thing I wish rocket choppers would have is just a little bit more damage. Because if you're maxed out 2 RCs per boat versus 3 bombers, rocket choppers do about half as much damage. And for a damage dealer, they should have a little bit more. But I guess another issue is again, balancing rocket choppers on the main island versus in warships. So all in all, I think rocket choppers was a cool addition. And it's still only been a couple weeks, so I'm sure more people can find cool new strategies with them. And just another damage dealer because it's been a long time since we got one. But kind of alongside rocket choppers, another thing that people had a lot of opinions on is that new flying hero. Having Rudy on the main island. One was kind of how we got him with those clues, but since it's already passed, I guess it's not too much to talk about. Sure, it's not crazy, you're just map clearing every day for like 9 or 10 days, and then you'll beat a new Hammerman base. Hammerman base was kinda cool, but the main thing was how strong Rudy is on the main island. And after playing a bit, at least we and a lot of people realized he's not that strong as some other heroes. Like right now, you have Bullet where he has so much health, and even his pain tolerance lets him survive like Doom Cannon shots so easily. You got Kavan's Second Wind, which if you lose troops, you can bring them back. You have Sparky with her critters, and especially stronger now where critters affected by troop damage or troop health. And you have Brick with battle orders, making her troops stronger and faster. But Rudy doesn't seem to have any good niche that the other heroes don't have. Like already on its own, he's just a flying hero that stands way in the back. His wingmen are just circling around him, so he's not even going closer to buildings to distract stuff. And his abilities don't seem like super strong either. You have a Seeker one where I guess it's a cool concept, going from a warships troop into the main island. But Seekers have like half the health as heavies, and even if they have the damage as Zooks, it's just not enough stats to go straight to the HQ and get much done. Like if we're already gonna go to the HQ, might as well do like a all warrior or all Zuka hit. Even though Seekers are affected by troop health and troop damage, it's still not enough to really make an impact when an HQ has like 200,000 health at the higher levels, whereas in warships it maxes out at like 50k. And then you have his other ability, his bombing run, which again in warships it works great because you have so many different engine rooms. You can like throw Rudy to one side, use his bomb stuff a bunch of times and kill a portion of the base. But because the main island is again like this rectangle box shaped, it's really difficult to get a lot of value other than just taking him with the main pack. And that little shield he gets usually isn't enough to keep him alive. So when you do bomb stuff, you already have to throw like critters or a shock bomb just so he stays alive. Not to mention that in warships, there's not a lot of health on buildings. Like defenses are HQ 22 level. So on the main island or even operations, you don't really have enough troop damage versus a building health to get a lot done with bomb stuff. But out of his 3 abilities, I do think his wingmen are the strongest. Just the fact that whatever flying critters you have around him, you can like throw ahead of you, and at least that way they distract some more buildings. It's like a cool different version of using critters. So at least that's what I've noticed. When you're using Rudy, that's kind of the strongest ability. Just throwing those wingmen around and especially for cannons, boom cannons, keeping them distracted. But the other problem we run into is kind of the only troop that Rudy works with is rocket choppers, which makes perfect sense because they're both flying and they kind of synergize. But using Rudy with like lasers or bombers or scorchers doesn't really make sense. It's almost like maybe he could have been a temporary hero just for rocket choppers, unless Boom comes up with a lot more flying troops where he has some more time to shine. I'm sure it is pretty tough though to balance a hero, but this kind of shows the dangers of using warships to really feed into the main island. Because warships is like a lot of weak stuff. Defenses again are HQ22, you don't have a lot of building health. So even though Rudy was super strong in warships, it doesn't mean he's going to be strong in the main island. And I think that's what we kind of realized, especially in the last few months, that just because something is a tester in warships doesn't mean they're going to have the same strength on the main island. So maybe there's some ideas on how to make Rudy stronger on the main island without being like crazy overpowered in warships. So let me know if you have any ideas, and again we can share with the devs, see if they like any of them. But like Rudy right now on the main island, it still is a cool addition with rocket choppers, though his use case does seem kinda limited. But we even did have another small thing on the update, which is the training grounds, and I think whether you're just starting the game or even max level, that was a really good addition. Because if anything, it's like 220 free time savers, and that's like a day or two of just free speed ups, and who doesn't like that? It's just a little unfortunate that Dr. T and Rudy seemed a bit underwhelming, but since balancing is always possible, maybe with some good ideas, we can see some changes coming up. And don't want to be too negative about the update because, I mean, they are trying new things, like we've never had a Dr. T change in like 8 years, and this is a brand new troop and hero. So just hoping that with some feedback, it doesn't have to stay like this forever. But let me know what you think about the update, again now that there's around a few weeks into it, and how you think maybe Dr. T or Rudy should get some changes. But that's gonna be it for today's video. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.